Hi, Lynn Walden here. Welcome back to my channel. And this is the debrief episode that I promised I would follow up with after offering you the self-awareness experiment at the beginning of the week of November 25th. So typically what I like to do after running an experiment like this, for however long a period of time I do, is to step back when it's over, review the cards, and then see what came up during the week, whether or not it was an awareness of myself or somebody else, something about a situation. So I like to sit back with a nice cup of tea and just kind of go over things. So this is what I'll do. I'm going to read you the cards. You are being asked to start off by considering the idea of pleasure. So this is how pleasure reads. Pleasure is often considered to be frivolous. We've been taught both overtly and covertly that it will lead us to base desires away from God and goodness, that it will make us selfish and greedy, lazy and lustful. Have you ever noticed when you work with heartfelt pleasure how much more productive you are? That when pleasure reaches your heart in any kind of loving way, you're kinder in your loving, more generous, and more easily satisfied? Heartfelt pleasure can guide us to acts of kindness and gratitude, open us to greater depths of nourishing desires, compassion, and grace. And that is your card. Oh, can you read it? Can you read it? That's a good thing. That's a good question. Here we go. All right. So you're being asked to consider pleasure. Where does pleasure play in your life? Where have you denied yourself pleasure? What kind of pleasure are you experiencing? And just kind of let that be the background thought for the week. So the next thing you were asked to do was, as much as possible, maintain an energy of compassion, a deliberate attitude of compassion. And compassion reads as this: compassion carries an awareness of the vulnerability of others and ourselves. There's an empathy which allows for a gentle, kind approach, nudging us to move away from the need to blame and judge and move towards a desire to simply understand. Choose compassion. Still getting the hang of this. All right, and you were asked as an activity to, as much as possible this week, surround yourself with positive triggers. Begin a list that you'll build throughout the day. On it, place the things that make you feel light, spacious, calm, delighted, grounded. Choose things that in some way make you feel good and put you into a state of mind or sensation that you enjoy experiencing. Choose things that elicit a sense of well-being. Surround yourself and engage with as many of these things and activities as possible. Notice how it affects your mood, perception, posture, and breathing. Notice how your attitude towards yourself and others change. Hello, my darling girl. So, what I'd like you to do is think back over your week. How easy was it for you to engage in these exercises and to stay in a state of compassion? And how much were you challenged in that? Was it more than normal? Was it the same? Were you aware of any difference? Positive triggers. How easy was it for you to make the list in the first place, keep adding to the list, and to deliberately engage in them? Was that a fun thing for you? Did it feel like work? Were you able to do it consistently? And did you feel that you needed to do it more? In other words, were there situations that were taking you into a place of frustration or negativity in some way that made you feel like, oh yeah, this is a perfect week for me to be using positive triggers because I don't want to get pulled into that? And then what did you notice as your week went on about how pleasure played out in your life? Were you able to remind yourself that you can do activities with an attitude of pleasure? Did you notice where you were going into struggle, where as soon as you started working on something that you forgot the pleasure aspect of it and it became something that you just worked at? And if you were able to shift your attitude by going into a state of compassion for yourself and allowing for pleasure to be in your life, did the work become easier? Were you more productive? So some of the things on the debriefing sheet or the debriefing guide that I typically would go over is, did the theme of pleasure come up in your life? Was it something that you looked at in terms of history in your life? How was work and activity defined by your family in the past? Was it fun? Were you encouraged to have fun, or were you encouraged to nose to the grindstone? Did it show up in your life in any specific way this week? Maybe at work you were given a project and you were told, you had to work 12-hour days in order to get it done. How did it show up? And maybe it showed up in terms of movies or media in some way. How did you find embodying the energy of compassion? Was that easy for you? Did you go back to, what does that feel like anyway? Did you notice a shift in the way you saw things when you were in that energy? What parts of you showed up that you struggled with when you tried to engage in that compassionate energy? So overall, where were the points of discomfort in the week? And where were there points of a real recognition of being able to shift perception, shift attitude? Did you identify anything about yourself that you thought was an old pattern or an old habit that you had previously been unaware of? And if so, is it something that you would consider shifting or changing? Like, is it something you think you could work on or that would benefit you to change in some way? And I would also really look at, in general, what old stories came up for you, specifically around pleasure, positivity, and compassion. Did anything come up specifically for you that was a theme around any of those things? Memories, people that you remembered, events that you remembered. And has this prompted you to think about new possibilities in your life? Do you find yourself resisting the idea that pleasure could make you more productive? Do you think that it is a possibility that a work life that involves earning great money could actually be pleasurable? Is that a possibility for you? Or do you believe that the only way to make money is to struggle? Do you believe the only way to be in a relationship with someone is to struggle or to have conflict? Or can you allow for the possibility that you can have pleasure as a base note in your life for everything that you do? Do you understand how that could be a choice? And that by deliberately engaging in things that keep your energy more positive, you're going to be more inclined to do that. So these are just some of the concepts that you can run by. Generally, to recap, look at events that showed up that highlighted any of these things in a positive way or in a negative way, in a way that was easy or difficult. Notice where you found yourself struggling a little bit, and whether or not that related to an old story or a theme that you've experienced in your life ongoing. Oh, laundry's ready. And just check in with something really fundamental, and that is, how did the fact that you had chosen to do an awareness activity, just that in itself, regardless of what the activity was, how did the fact that you chose to do it affect how you saw your week and how you felt about yourself in the week and how you engaged with the world during your week? So that's pretty much it. I would encourage you to, if you haven't, you can go to my website, lynnwalden.com. There is a series of exercises and printable guides that you can use in order to work with this. Even if it's just with me online, they're there for you to be able to download and work with them. So there, if you would like to go to the website, lynnwalden.com, there is a debriefing guide that you can find under the Examples and Printable Guides tab, which is under what is it under? It's under the About the Cards. Yeah, it's under the Cards tab. Go down to Examples and Printable Guides, and there you'll find at the very bottom of the page a list under Debriefing Guide. And those are really great questions to run by yourself after you do this self-awareness experiment or any self-awareness experiment. It's a good thing to do at the end of the week, just in general. How did my week go? You don't have to do it around the cards. You can use it specifically for any kind of debriefing of your week. I like to often, at the end of the day, if it's been particularly good or particularly difficult, I like to go over the day and say, where did it go off track? Where can I change it? How would I like it to be tomorrow? And I find that a really valuable way to kind of shift the energy, and not just shift the energy, but really bring me into awareness of areas where I have in the day kind of gotten stuck in a quality of energy. And what does that give me the opportunity to see about myself, and where I might benefit from shifting an attitude, where an old pattern might have come up, or where I'm still stuck with a fiber of my old story. It doesn't have to be the whole old story. It can just be a fiber of it. So I encourage you to look at those things. Again, even without the cards, they're there. They're for you. Feel free to use them, lynnwalden.com. And I will be posting another self-awareness experiment so that you can start doing it next week. And I hope you found this interesting. If you did and you feel inclined to leave comments or questions, I would really welcome that. And of course, if you would feel inclined to click the like button, that would really help things out for me. Subscribe also really helps, but whatever you're comfortable with, I would appreciate. Okay, that's it. Have a great weekend, and have fun with the debrief.